What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for February 22nd, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast. Lots going on today, so let's jump right into it. Let's start with some housekeeping. I mentioned this yesterday, but the official Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame ballot were sent out to the voters. However, as fans, you get a chance to have your voice heard. And this year, just like last year, you have a chance to win 2 free VIP tickets to the ceremony in November. All the information you need is in the description, but all you need to do is fill out your ballot. And if your ballot comes closest to the official induction class, you will win those 2 VIP tickets. Again, everything you need is in the description. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, but it's hard to believe. Like I said, it's already Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction class time as we go. Another stat class this year, a lot of big names. I put links to all their bios and the write-ups that we do for them. So first thing in the description is the fan's voice. And again, you can win 2 VIP tickets to the ceremony in November if your ballot most closely matches the official induction class. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok. At Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott. Continue to spread the word. We're slowly getting those subscribers up there. I mentioned yesterday I put clips on my social media. I also started putting the question of the day as a YouTube short just to kind of increase some traffic on the channel. So continue to spread the word. Check out everything we got going on. Lots of good Philly sports history things happening. And then go check out my friends at the On Pattison or at On Pattison. Great Philly sports coverage right on their website, onpattison.com. You can also sign up for their newsletter sent right to your inbox every weekday. We're featured in there a couple times a week. John and the guys that run that are good dudes. So go check them out and give them some support. All right. So yesterday, I had not as much feedback on the Tyrese Maxey being on the trade. I think that I'll get into the official results here in a minute, but I think a lot of that has to do just with Sixers fatigue, I guess, or apathy. I don't even think it's fatigue at this point. I think it's more apathy. People just don't care. But or maybe not surprisingly, lots of feedback about Fran Dunphy. Had a lot of people saying, Fran Dunphy's a legend. You're disrespectful to a Philadelphia legend, blah, 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 blah. Well, listen, I said it and I prefaced it and opened it up yesterday. It's a personal bias I have as a Temple basketball fan. I think he was while his time at Temple, I still feel he was underachiever. Like, they underachieved here. The fact that they only had 2 tournament wins with the players and the teams they had, I think is ridiculous. So to me, underachiever. So that's where that came from. But to me, he's not a legendary coach. I think he would be the equivalent of like Frank Gore in the NFL. Was Frank Gore a legendary running back? No, he was just a guy who played for a long time and compiled a lot of stats. Fran Dunphy coached for 33 years, all in the Big Five. So you want to call him a Big Five. I don't like the legend, a great Big Five person, ambassador. He's called Mr. Big Five. That's perfectly fine. But legendary, the dude only averaged 18 or I'll give him 19. He averaged 19 wins per season, which I guess isn't nothing to sneeze at. However, when you start throwing out the word legendary and you have guys in this city like Herb McGee, John Chaney, and Jay Wright, who averaged over 20 wins per season. You see where I'm going with this? Raleigh Massimino won a title. Harry Litwack took Temple way back in the day to 2 Final Fours. Dr. Jack Ramsey took the St. Joe's Hawks to the Final Fours. So I hesitate to call him legendary. I would rank all of those guys I just mentioned over Fran Dunphy. And again, this is not to take anything away from what Fran Dunphy did in his career. I mean, you can't coach in 1,000 games, winning over 600, 33 years. You can call him an institution in Philly. That's fine. But I hesitate. We throw that term legendary around a lot, and I don't consider Fran Dunphy a legend. That is all I was saying. Like I said, I saw a lot of stories. He seemed like he was a good dude, and that's fine. He's a good dude, nice guy. Never met him, but legendary, no, because I can't get over the fact that as a Temple basketball fan, those teams underachieved. And a lot of that stems from coaching, and that is on Fran Dunphy. Maybe he had some teams at Penn that he overachieved on. I didn't really follow Penn basketball like that. But let's pump the brakes on the legendary, because like I said, I just gave you 5 guys that I would rank ahead, and that's just off the top of my head. So, not trying to be disrespectful, just giving you my opinion. To me, he was an underachiever at Temple. But what are your thoughts on that? I guess this will be Fran Dunphy's weekend, since he is going to coach in his 1,000th game this weekend. Let me know. Fire away. But again, no disrespect was intended. I'm just giving you my opinion, and I had a lot of disappointment as a Temple basketball fan when Fran Dunphy was the coach. Sure, there were some big wins, but at the end of the season, almost every year consistently, I was disappointed. That, to me, is not legendary. All right, so let's go to that recap of the question of the day from yesterday. I did ask you, if the Sixers blow it up, should they include Tyrese Maxey in trade talks? 67% of you said no. Surprisingly, that number was a little bit lower. I thought more people would be like, no, you can't get rid of Maxey. So I don't know if that... nobody really left any comments about it. They just voted. So I don't know if that, again, is Sixers fatigue or just general apathy and nobody cares right now. I think probably the latter. And if anybody does care, Sixers are in action tonight against the Nets. In kind of a big game, considering they're tied with the Nets for that 6th spot in the draft. And I don't know, man. I just say shut it all down and go for the draft pick. But let's go Nets. But that is tonight at the Wells Fargo Center. Earlier this afternoon, or earlier today, not earlier today. Also today, earlier in the afternoon, whatever. Flyers play the Oilers at 1 at the Wells Fargo Center. So hockey, basketball doubleheader down in South Philly today as they come back from the Four Nations break. Excited to see how they respond. I still don't think they have a run in them, but you never know. So Flyers, Oilers today at 1 o'clock at the Wells Fargo Center. And then the Philadelphia Union kick off their season today in Orlando. Could be a long year for the Union. Not going to sit here and pretend like I know a ton of soccer. I did do a little research, and everybody's picking them kind of near the bottom of the Eastern Conference. They might be able to make a run and get in. It's very similar to last year, make a run to get into the playoff season. But a player to watch is Kevin Sullivan. He is the 15-year-old who does have that contract to go play in the Premier League, I believe with Manchester United or Manchester City, one of the Manchesters, once he turns 18. So it should be exciting to see a 15-year-old play for the Union this year in what could be a long season out in Chester. And then, of course, the big story, the Phillies open up spring training today against the Tigers. It's not on TV, but I will be listening. I'm very excited to see what this lineup is, or even if anybody plays. I don't know. Early in the preseason or spring training, a lot of the guys don't play, but that's what we're watching this spring, is really how Rob Thompson is going to create the lineup. And truthfully, I feel like we're going to go into the season, probably the first quarter at least of the season, with a lot of rotations and switches in that lineup. So we'll see what's going on. But it does lead to today's question of the day. And spring training is long. We're still a little over a month away from the start of the regular season. But today, now that they're starting the spring training slate, give a little vibe check. We'll have another vibe check later as we get closer to the season. But how's everybody feeling about the Phillies? Is it generally positive? Is it generally negative? Again, is it sort of just like wake me up in August? Lots lots going on with this team, and I do think that the Eagles winning the Super Bowl is going to change probably how we're feeling right now about the Phils. But let me know your general vibes. Positive, negative right now about the Phillies' upcoming season. 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. I am going to I'll keep track of these results and save them because I want to check the vibes as we get closer to the regular season. Might do some vibe checks throughout the season too, just to kind of see where we're feeling. It's a long summer as we go through. So how are we feeling about the Phils on the eve of, or I shouldn't even say the eve, on the day that the spring training slate starts? Be sure to check out my friends over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Lots of great things going on with their sports fan network. You can go to clashingconferences.com for more information on that. And then, of course, go to Philly Goat. I think I figured out which slides I'm going to get, so I'm excited to do that. I'm going to get the gray, Jalen Hurts, champions ones. But they just look comfortable. And I've told you before, all the shoes I've gotten from Philly Goat have been exceptionally comfortable, way more than what they look. And these things even look comfortable, so I can only imagine. They're probably going to be like walking on clouds. So go check out the slides, all the other championship gear they have there. Get ready for Philly season, and be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off and get the slides. All right, some Eagles news came out yesterday, and I guess the big story that everybody was talking about was Pro Football Focus ranked their top 100 based on whatever analytics they use. I'm not going to go into it because, quite frankly, who cares? And I said this before, and again, no disrespect to anybody out there, but these rankings are for losers. And to me, the only ranking that matters is the Eagles are Super Bowl champions. So I couldn't give any more F's about where Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and all these guys rank, because it's all the nerdy analytical stuff that does have a certain place in the game, but it doesn't really matter. It's just something for people to talk about when they're not Super Bowl champions. So if you want to go look at the rankings, great. I'm not going to go into it because I've already given them way too much time than what they need. But A.J. Brown was interviewed and did say a lot in his interview. Talked about how things are going to have to change and we need to get better. And I think some people took that out of context. I don't necessarily think it was meant to be a negative or him bitching or complaining about anything. I think it's the truth. You won the Super Bowl. Your stuff is on tape now. You got to get better because we're trying to repeat. And I like it. And people gave him grief for when he said it's time to get back to work. And you're constantly trying to get better. So the fact that people were up in arms again about something that A.J. Brown said, he said they have to change. And I agree. You can't run. Like, look at what the Phillies have been doing. They've essentially been running the same team back out there every year and gradually getting worse. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. In order to repeat, they're going to have to be better at certain things next year. It's just the way the game evolves. So I don't think anything that he said was wrong. He did say that Kevin Patullo is a great hire. He said he likes that he's familiar with us, and he's been a big part of the conversations they've had as a team this year. And said that he, Kellen Moore, and Nick Sirianni were basically calling the plays anyway. So it's a very good, just easy transition. And like I said, that's the thing I like the most about the hire, is because there's going to be a little bit more continuity with what they've been doing. And A.J. Brown says he's excited for it. It's a great hire, and he's already been involved in the offense. So if A.J. Brown's on board with it, works for me. I'm on board with it. Let's kind of stop talking about is this a good hire or not, because nothing's going to change it anyway. And let's start focusing on the combine and free agency. The other news that came out, and this is just incredible. Nolan Smith tore his tricep in the first half of the Super Bowl, played the second half with a torn tricep, like just basically with one arm. So just a stud, absolute stud. Makes me love him even more. Makes me love this team even more, just because that's the kind of gutty things that they're out there doing. So AJ is on board with Kevin Patullo. That means I am. Nolan Smith is a certified stud, though, for playing the Super Bowl with a torn tricep. And luckily, they had a 24-point lead that it didn't necessarily come into play where, oh, no, he's playing hurt. So shout out to Nolan Smith. And even more impressive, he got surgery on Wednesday. He went through the parade and was double-fisted most of the parade with a torn tricep. That might be even more impressive than anything. All right, today, we're going to go back to 2001. And on this day in 2001, the Sixers were sitting atop the Eastern Conference with a 41-14 record, 7.5 games up for the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, but they didn't let it go. They pulled off a massive trade on this day that was specifically aimed at taking on and competing with the Lakers in the NBA Finals. They sent Theo Ratliff, Nazr Mohammed, and Pepe Sanchez and Toni Kukoc to the Hawks for Dikembe, Mutombo, and Roshown McLeod. Not everybody was on board with this trade at the time. There's a lot of people that said, why are you going to mess up the chemistry? Why are you going to change things? You're 41-14 with the team as is. But this move was 100% aimed at competing with Shaq and the Lakers. The argument against it was like, this is a special season. You're going to mess up the chemistry. But I think what a lot of people forget now that we're 24 years removed from this run was Theo Ratliff had just had surgery on his wrist, and there was no real word on whether he was going to come back and be able to play at the level he was playing. He was an all-star, was having a great season. But this move for Dikembe Mutombo definitely paid off and led to that memorable and magical playoff run. In the 26 games he played in the regular season, Dikembe averaged 11.7 points per game, 12 boards, and 2.5 blocks. But he really stepped up in the playoffs. Almost 14 points a game, almost 14 rebounds a game, and 3 blocks per game. Really, that's what they got him for, and it paid off in dividends as they were able to make that run for the finals. He did spend the next season in Philly, made the All-Star game before being traded that next offseason to the Nets for Keith Van Horn, who came back to Philly after being drafted and then traded away again. But Theo, to his credit, did play 10 more years in the NBA, but never got back to that level that he was in 2001. So I would say and grade this trade an A+. It won. It was a winning trade for the Sixers. They got to the finals, and Dikembe was just an absolute beast during that playoff run. But on this day in 2001, Sixers acquired Dikembe Mutombo and Roshown McLeod for Theo Ratliff, Nazr Mohammed, Pepe Sanchez, and Toni Kukoc, and it proved to be the difference maker for the Sixers. Finally today, our Black History Legacy makers with Philly ties is Ken Hamilton. And Ken Hamilton was the head coach at Ben Franklin High School from 1972 to 1999. Led one of the best programs in the public league, had 456 wins total, which was the public league record when he retired. Led the Ben Franklin High School team to 4 public league titles. Also taught social studies there, and really that's what was the most importance to him. I saw a couple interviews with him where he talked about just being a teacher and giving just his being a mentor to young people. He's in the Cheney Athletics Hall of Fame as well as the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. But he wasn't done. Other than coaching and teaching, he also worked with Wally Jones, who we talked about earlier this month in the Shoot for the Stars program that provided so many great opportunities for the youth in Philadelphia. So Ken Hamilton was all about the students, and as an educator myself, that's something that's near and dear to my heart. So shout out to you, Ken Hamilton. You've had an impact on so many as a mentor, a coach, a teacher, and just an all-around great Philadelphian. Your legacy continues and remains today. You truly are a Hall of Famer in every aspect of the word. So thank you, Ken Hamilton, for just being an inspiration for so many people over your years of being a coach, a teacher, and a mentor. And I thank you. On this day in 2001, Sixers completed a trade that brought Dikembe Mutombo to the to the team, led them, and really was a key part. Everybody talks about Allen Iverson, but I don't think they survived those 2 Game 7s in the Eastern Conference semis and then the Eastern Conference Finals without Dikembe Mutombo. He played so well defensively and really held his own against Shaquille O'Neal, who was just at his peak in the NBA Finals, stealing Game 1, one of the highlights of my Sixers fandom. My, though, how far we have come since that magical run in 2001. All right, we'll have more on the Sixers, Flyers, and Union tomorrow, as well as a recap of the Phillies' first spring training game. I don't know how intense I'm going to do this the rest of the time, but it's the first one. Want to see what the lineup is, see who plays, how guys look. Probably will not recap every single preseason game. That's just sounds crazy. But be sure to let me know your thoughts on Fran Dunphy. Am I being too tough on him? I don't like calling him and using the word legendary with Fran Dunphy, though. And then give me your Phillies vibe check. How are we feeling heading into the spring training slate? Are we high on the team? We low on the team? Does anybody really care right now? All of that is fair game. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get anything Philly sports related off your chest. Big day. Lots going on today. So anything is fair game. Got a lot of basketball games I'm going to be going to today, so I can text back and forth with you if you want to share your thoughts. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for February 22nd, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go enjoy your Saturday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.